This is the story of Richard Balter. It's a story of injustice, political maneuvering, and a quest for truth spanning over 3 decades. Today, Richard Balter is 79 years old and completely blind. He has served nearly 32 years in federal prison, maintaining his innocence for the entirety of that time. The case number for his actual innocence petition is 5:25HC2175D. His incarceration has taken a severe toll. He suffers from stage 3 kidney disease and serious and complicated heart disease. Federal courts found the BOP effectively caused his blindness by failing to provide the medication to prevent it. Even now, assistance is only through the kindness of other inmates, as the prison system has refused to provide him a caretaker. Richard Balter's case, dating back 32 years, connects directly to the trouble President Trump is having in the District of New Jersey. His story is considered potentially impactful and helpful to the president. Several news media persons have this story but are sitting on it because it is ample fuel in favor of the Trump administration in their fight against judges in the District of New Jersey. The central figure in Balter's conviction was then Assistant U.S. Attorney, now Federal Judge Renee Bum. Balter's legal team claims Judge Bum was functioning centrally in sabotaging Ms. Selena Haba's appointment as U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey. The case shows evidence of prosecutorial misconduct, including ramrodding a false conviction. Bum's actions were part of a lack of integrity and malicious standard protocol of the Chris Christie United States Attorney's Office. Balter claims Bum was participating in a crime while being vetted for her judicial nomination. Richard Balter received an honorable discharge from the Air Force in 1970. He worked for his father, Bert Balter, who owned Balter Lehigh Fuel Corp., a highly successful fuel oil company in the Bronx. Richard met the Trumps on several occasions while working for his father. In 1975, Richard started his own company, Northeastern Polyproducts Inc., NPP, which quickly grew, supplying plastic garbage bags to all the real estate owners he knew from his father. He became Mobil's largest customer. Around 1990, Balter's new bank was concerned about an account, Unida, owned by Robert Cohen, that owed him $600,000. Richard's father, Bert, gave Richard $1.4 million as part of his inheritance to pay off the bank and provide working capital. Richard planned to take over Unida, leaving Cohen to handle the accounts for his current ample salary, which Cohen thought was a fantastic idea. The motive concocted by Prosecutor Bum was that Balter participated in the murder-for-hire scheme because his business was about to fail, and he needed the insurance money. Robert Cohen had voluntarily given Balter a life insurance policy to ensure Balter was paid even in case of his death. Robert Cohen was worth much more to Balter alive. Even with the debt, Cohen was still bringing in $50,000 a month in business. NPP's overall sales were roughly $7.5 million annually. The idea that Balter killed him is patently asinine and ridiculous. Balter hired Ken Cutler as a general manager to minimize stress after his first heart attack. At trial, it was revealed Cutler was under federal investigation for fraud and had been previously caught stealing check deposits with his friend, Gustavo Gill. Gill became the government's chief witness. After hiring them, Balter became wary when items started disappearing from his warehouse. Balter realized he had hired 2 professional thieves. The thieves found out about the Cohen debt and, not knowing about the $1.4 million infusion, assumed their theft gravy train was about to be over, and they wanted the $600,000. Robert Cohen was shot on January 20th, 1992. That same morning, Cutler and Gill came into Balter's office. Ken said, "Rick, your problems with Unida are gone. Bob is dead. Gus and his friends shot him this morning." When Balter threatened to call the police, Gill threatened him back, saying they would tell police Balter hired them because he was the beneficiary of the insurance policy. Gill also stated Balter's brother's family was in danger. Balter was extorted and paid them cash. Gill later made a deal with the government, confessing that Detective Cota had provided him the narrative and an offer of total immunity. Federal agents seized documents with a warrant listing only 1 insurance policy and 1 file folder. However, agents illegally confiscated approximately 200 boxes of business and personal records from the warehouse and computer room. None of this was authorized. These records would have proved his innocence by dismantling the motive. Indeed, Ms. Bum had in this admission conceded that she had been lying to the court, the defendant, and anyone else involved for years by discussing the boxes as if they still existed and still were under her control the whole time. Over a decade later, in 2007, prosecutor Renee Bum finally admitted the federal prosecutor's office had destroyed the evidence in the many boxes over a decade earlier in 1994. Balter hired the famous attorney Benjamin Brafman, paying him $350,000. When the trial was moved 4 hours away to Camden, New Jersey, Brafman grew angry, complaining about the high cost and loss of other clients, asking Balter to cover an additional $100,000 in costs. When Balter refused, Brafman essentially shut down. He called no witnesses, despite many being available to prove the business was profitable. Brafman failed to mount any affirmative defense. The appeals court later confirmed this by stating, "The defendant presented no defense." The government used 3 taped conversations made by the informant, Gil. Balter told his attorney that a critical tape was missing, one where he had lost it with Gil, yelling that he was innocent, complaining of extortion, and threatening to go to the police. When Brafman asked Gil on the stand, Gil surprisingly admitted another tape existed, but claimed it was blank. This is implausible. The officer running surveillance would have recorded a preamble, which would still exist if the machine malfunctioned. This was an erased, exculpatory audio recording. Fearing Gil and Cutler would harm his family, Balter felt compelled to help cover up the murder. Balter tried to signal for help during the wired conversations by making untrue verbal announcements that his business was completely bankrupt. He prayed the federal agents, who had his actual financial records, would see the lie and realize he was being extorted. Instead of investigating the contradiction, the government chose to hide the evidence and used his fear and false statements to solidify their fabricated motive and convict him. Gil later stated in affidavits that he was improperly coached for 6 months by law enforcement. Richard Balter has been constantly pursuing his case for 32 years. Despite this, the courts continually tell him he is out of time and has not shown due diligence. The government has never denied his claims of innocence in any document, only that he has not fought to prove it correctly. Balter was fundamentally denied a thorough review because his attorney failed to provide the appeals court anything to review. The corruption continued even after his conviction. Inmate Renee Tellier, who was assisting Balter legally while blind, was explicitly told by the Bureau of Prison staff that if he continued to help Balter, he would be transferred to a facility in California far away from his family. He immediately stopped. Furthermore, upon Balter's transfer from USP Allenwood, he left with 19 inches of legal documentation. Upon arrival at USP Coleman, it had mysteriously reduced to 2 inches. Government's own key witness, Balter's company controller, Cheryl Post Penny, testified that Ken Cutler, Gustavo Gil, and his friends were responsible for Mr. Cohen's murder. Cheryl Post Penny's sworn statement at the trial was, "Mr. Cutler told me that he felt very bad about something. He was upset that he had done something that bothered him, but he had to do what was best, in the best interest of Northeastern Poly Products. We all had families that we supported through our jobs at Northeastern Poly Products, and if the debt at UNITA had not been paid, Northeastern could not sustain that type of a financial blow. So he had arranged with Mr. Gill to have Mr. Cohen killed." The prosecutor specifically asked if anyone else was involved, inferentially meaning Richard Balter, and she responded, "No, the jury still convicted. In our country, our federal courts systemically have, for the last 30 years or more, learned to choose juries not randomly, but from areas where they know through census material and other data that the persons they will be putting in the jury box are those that will likely vote guilty. This is due to something called the indicia of reliability. Unlike the founders of this country who did not trust the government without question, television programming and other media has reinforced the idea that if the government prosecutors and law enforcement arrested and charged someone, then they must be guilty. Indeed, Mr. Balter has 2 exculpatory affidavits filed within 120 days of receiving them. Upon obtaining these, he immediately filed an actual innocence claim. Given that these declarations were from individuals whom he could not have had access to priorly, They constitute in and of themselves new evidence. When the prosecutor asked if there was anyone else involved, she said no. Richard Balter, a blind, 79-year-old man, is a proven innocent man. His case is a dark mirror reflecting a decades-long institutional failure. The fight for his freedom and the effort to expose the corruption that put him there is his last great hope. Thank you for watching. Richard Balter is now 79 years old and continues to fight for justice. If you believe this story deserves to be heard, please share it.